All right. Not no slow rolling of the guests today. We're just coming in hot with Anestis here.
Hello.
Anestis is in Athens, Greece. It's about 10:30 at night. Patrick, is it same for you?
No, it's 9:30.
9:30 for you. Cait's on the East Coast.
Yep.
3:30, and it's 2:30 here where I am in the Central Coast of the U.S. So, as it's pretty typical for us, we're spanning several time zones. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about a couple of competitions that have already happened, being Athens Throwdown and then Sarajevo Throwdown. We got two guests coming on today. Anestis we'll get to in just a second, and then Syria Mayha will be joining us after that. And then at the end of the show, Cait has been doing copious amounts of Copa Sur research, and she's got all the picks dialed in and for you guys, so you know who to watch down in Brazil this weekend. So that'll be kind of the lineup for what we're going to do. But, you know, Anestis is a friend of mine that I've got to see compete many times in Europe and the Middle East. But I wouldn't be surprised if for many of you, this is kind of the first time that you're seeing him outside of the competition floor, getting a chance to hear from him. So I'm just going to turn it over to Anestis to start. Can you just kind of, for people who may not know you or where you're from, or maybe the last couple of years of your life, just give us a quick intro to who is Anestis Artemis?
Okay, guys. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
I'm okay? Okay. So I'm Anestis Artemis. I'm 25 years old. I'm doing CrossFit since 2017. All my life I live in Athens, Greece. And I'm doing it professionally for the past 3 years now, 4 years. So that's it, just a little bit of my journey. When I was younger, I was doing Taekwondo for 10 years from an early age. I was 5 years old when I started, and I stopped at 15. Then did some gym stuff, and then from 17 until now, I'm doing CrossFit.
And one of the legends of CrossFit in Greece, Yorgos Karavis there, I know he's a good friend of yours now. How long have you guys known each other?
I know him since 2020. I met him. He was in my gym for a little bit. He was training for the games, and he wanted a place to just do his training alone. So he found this gym, and I was there. I didn't know anything about this, so I just go straight to him and I said, "Do you want to train with me?" And he said, "Yes, of course. Let's train together." And from that day, we are together since now.
Yeah, and you guys are super close friends. I actually have never asked you that before, so that's cool to kind of hear about. Just he kind of looking for a place, and you were there, and now you guys have built such a great friendship.
Yeah.
Can you just, for people who maybe haven't been there, can you give a little bit of information about just what CrossFit and competitive fitness is like in Greece?
Okay, so in Greece, a lot of people doing CrossFit, but in a very, it's not too high in Greece. Like we are probably 5-6 guys that we are try to hit good competitions and stuff like this. So it's a little bit difficult to compare yourself when you have 5 people to go against in competition. So this is CrossFit in Greece. We love CrossFit. We are a big community in Greece, but the competition level, it's not too high.
But there, and then of course there's guys like you see in this picture, Yorgos, Alex Katoulis, but there are also some guys from the Mediterranean or the Balkan region. Again, we see Georgia Juric here, Augustin Valicnik, some of the guys out of Serbia, like Luka Vunjak and some of the other guys. So as my understanding from being over there is that, you know, the competitive field is not that you're going against on a regular basis, is sort of within that region, not just Greece.
Yeah, exactly. When we are going to not in our place, like small competitions, and we want to go a little bit higher. Like, for example, Athens Throwdown, it's a big competition. Okay, it's very big in Europe, so a lot of athletes come there. So probably you're gonna face someone that you don't know, or a good guy that it's not Greek. So every time we face people that are from example Balkan. For example, George Juric, he's a very good athlete. And the past years we've seen Luka Vunjak, Lazar, Luka, everyone is coming, so it's a good competition. And in Greece, I think it's only the only competition that you can face those guys.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest one from a total participation, and then also has the biggest names, and it's been around for a long time. I was sad not to be there this year, but I wanted to first of all congratulate you. For people who don't know, Anestis won that competition. How did it? We'll talk a little bit more about it, but how does it feel to have won that one?
It feels very good because I'm competing in Athens Throwdown since I was teenager. So my first year was as a teenager, 2017, and from that year I didn't stop, except the time that I got injured, 2023, I think. I tore my ACL in the first workout. But I'm really happy about it because it was my dream, you know. It's next to my place, next to my home. I know everyone. It's a little bit stress for us Greeks to go to this competition because everyone is there and they look at you and they try to oh, look, Anestis is coming, so they accept a lot from you. And this year it was one of my best feelings because it's like I don't know, I can't explain it. It's my home. I won, and around some good athletes. For example, for me to beat Yorgos is
I was
a
actually gonna
very big accomplishment.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, have you ever beat him in competition before?
No, it's my first time.
I can't remember. I was talking with someone when I was over there last year, and they're like, Yorgos is like just like he might be able to beat him in training, but in competition he hasn't beat him yet. So I was following along all weekend. Obviously, there were other people in the mix, but it's like the student has caught up to the master a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Now Yorgos, I don't think if he's at his best, but because he has a baby now, probably you know it. But I know that he's like a dog. Even if he's not at his best, I know that he's very good every time. But for me, it was like a big accomplishment to try and beat Yorgos.
And you know, this Athens Throwdown obviously is a huge deal. Of course, anyone who plays sports can understand winning the biggest competition in your city or your country and what that means and what that feels like. But you've competed at on some big stages around the world as well.
Yes, I think probably my biggest competition was semifinals from 2023. I think I'm not sure because it was a messy year with my knee. And the second one was Dubai. I was really excited when I went to Dubai and qualified because it was also one of my dreams to qualify for the Dubai CrossFit, the Dubai Championship. So yeah, now I'm getting a little bit more experienced guy.
And just as long as we're talking about competitions, this season is kind of wide open. Like there's so many different options for athletes, and everyone has some different plans. Where it used to be very straightforward. Do you have a plan for this year, or are you kind of taking it as it comes?
For me, the first plan was to win Athens Throwdown because I really wanted the money. And after that, because now I feel very good about my victory, I think Gotland, because I saw the workouts until now. It's really good for me. So I will give my best. My goal is to go as high as I can. So probably I will give my best and hope for the best.
So that's Wadland Festival is coming up not this weekend, but the following weekend in Spain. We will be breaking that down for you guys next week, and Anestis will be amongst it's a huge elite field, and there's a lot of good athletes there.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted to make sure to talk about this with you because like I said earlier, I've seen you compete at some of these competitions, and you've had a couple kind of close calls, where you've been really close to the money or really close to the podium. And I think that, a lot of times, not everyone gets to see that or gets to know what that's like. You're still young, you're 25, but you've been doing this for a while. And, can you talk a little bit about when things don't quite go your way, when you just miss out on the podium or you just miss out on the money, how you like recover from that to get back in the fight for the next one?
Yeah. For me, it's like the time that it's happening, it's really bad. You feel so bad because you give your best, and maybe one workout will maybe destroy or the whole weekend. So I've done this a lot of times. To be more specific, for example, in fall series throwdown, 2 years, I was at the top until Sunday, and uh, one movement like ring muscle ups for me, it's not good. Destroyed both of the competitions, both years. So from first I went to third, and the second year I was second. But when you fight for something, you cannot give up. So maybe I go to my home, cry a little bit, and that's it. We have the next competition and the next competition, and the day after that, we must fight until the end. So, and for example, now I won. So it was like very good for me. I did not do any mistakes. I was really focused on the goal, and maybe when you don't give up, it's the best option.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this. Patrick's pulling up your results here. You won with like pretty much half as many points as the next closest guy. Yorgos was the only guy kind of coming close to you, and we look at the results there: 3 wins, 2 seconds, nothing worse than fourth. Why do you think you were so dialed in for this one?
To be honest, these workouts were so good for me because it has many squats. So I love squatting.
Oh, you should have gone to Mayhem Classic.
I saw that. Yes. I'm a guy that loves squats and under fatigue. So a lot of squatting there. Small workouts, not too big. The biggest one was like 11:30, 12 minutes, I think. So for me, it was a very good um, schedule. It was very good.
Patrick, you got anything you want to ask Anestis about?
Anestis, you talked about I think you're underselling like what the Greece CrossFit scene has. Obviously, you talk about Yorgos, yourself, Alex. There's been some other games athletes, coming from there. Where do you see the sport in 5 years in Greece? Do you see it kind of where it's still at now, or is it still growing?
To be honest, I don't see a lot of new guys coming, like young people, and I think that, of course, we will have good athletes, but I'm a little bit worried about this because we don't have many hard workers at this time. To be honest, I don't know someone that he's very young and trying his best now. Probably hiding. I don't know. There's no one, but I'm not sure. But I'm a little bit worried about the future.
What do you think? What do you think needs to be done to help that? I mean, do you think more involvement from CrossFit, or do you think more? I mean, what do you think might help that from growing, or help it to grow in Greece?
That's a tough question because here in Greece, for example, the economy is not good, so everyone is focusing on making money, and when you focus on making money, you don't have enough time to train, you don't have enough time to make your things the way you like. So it's a little bit difficult because you need a lot of help from, I don't know, sponsors, and we don't even have sponsors in Greece. It's very difficult. So that's the thing that it's making it difficult here in Greece, I think.
It must show how much you love the sport. Then, I mean, how do you make it through? Do you have a full-time job?
At this time, I'm doing like personal training stuff with some of. So basically, I start my day with I do 2 sessions a day. I finish the second session at 6 o'clock, and I immediately change my gym, go to another gym, and do my personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same moment, I have my parents that they're every time they're there for me, so they're helping me a lot, and I love them. The help is amazing. So, but not everyone has this. It's like I just talked with them. I told them that I want to go as far as I can. They told me, "Don't worry, we will help you. We will support you." And but that's not the case in Greece. That's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed, and I'm really blessed about this.
They sound like amazing people, and that's awesome.
Yeah, they helped me a lot.
Cait, I know it's your first time meeting Anestis, but do you have any questions for him about CrossFit in Europe or fitness in the Greece, or just him in general?
Yeah, you had mentioned your injury back in 2023, and to some people that can be pretty devastating. Can you kind of talk about mentally where you were at and how you moved forward for what I'm assuming was the next season?
Okay. When I got injured, it was my biggest injury of all time. So I was with a big question mark in my mind because I just stopped the competition. I was like, what is happening right now? I don't feel like this is a small injury. So when it happened, I was qualified for semifinals. I was qualified for French Throwdown. It was my best year so far, 2023, and I got devastated. But after this, I was like, okay, this happened. You need to go on. It's everyone got injured, so you need to go on. And I I just uh, asked everyone about this injury, the specific injury. I got many details. I fixed it all by myself with physiotherapists and stuff like this. And I went to semifinals with an injury. With like I was wearing all the time my knee pads, my knee sleeves, because if they see you that you are injured, they kick you out. It's normal. Okay, it's normal. But I wanted to feel the competition floor in semifinals because it was my first year. So I think this made me very strong. I withdrew the third day. I stopped because we had like too many squats, and I couldn't do it. But you must never stop. If you like something, if you love something, you must keep going. You must find ways to fix it. It's like it's like this. CrossFit is like this. It's madness, but at the same time, it's the best one.
Anestis, I think I got a last question for you here. I think this is a thing that a lot of people experience, but it sounds like you've got a good balance in your life. You got some really great people and a lot of support, but there's constantly challenges on and off the competition floor. Have you found that through the hard training that it helps you when life gets hard?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you because you were a little bit laggy. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was just saying you've mentioned a few difficult things that have happened in competition and then also in life. And have you had the experience that because you're constantly training hard, you're always doing hard things in the gym, that it helps prepare you for when life gets difficult?
Yeah, exactly. If you train hard and you give your soul and you are consistent and you go every day and doing it everything as your coach says, you are like, I'm doing it right. I'm doing every single step right. So you need to be like, for me, it's like a commitment. So maybe every day I'm getting hurt. I hurt a lot. Maybe sometimes I'm not good. I have no good mood and everything. But at the end of the week, you are questioning and like, I'm doing everything every day at this time, 9:30 in the morning, 10:30 at the evening, everything. So you have a lot to prove to yourself. And if you don't go, if you don't show up, it's like, why are you doing it? It's like, is there any, like, are you crazy or something?
Well, I think it's no, but it's a good insight. It never really hurts to hear it again from somebody who's taking the profession. You said you've been calling yourself a professional for years now. That seriously, that it's every hour, it's every day, it's a commitment, it's the discipline, it's the days you don't want to go in, and you can do all that time, and it can be years before you kind of feel the taste of victory. And you got to feel it this month here in your hometown. I thought that was super cool. And when I knew we were going to be talking about this, I wanted to invite you. I'm really happy that you took the time in the evening to come and give some people in different parts of the world a chance to see your face and hear your voice and your story. And he'll be on the competition floor 10 days or 8 days from now in Spain. So you may get to see him again.
Yeah. It was an honor for me to be in this live because I've seen many lives of yours. I'm really happy that you invited me, and I'm really happy for every question and from everyone. Hope to see you again.
Yeah, well, we'll be seeing you soon. I can guarantee you that.
One more thing before I go, it's like I want to say, if you're training hard, if you're fighting every day, just show up. Don't be just show up, do your best, and don't hear everything about everyone says.
Amen to that. All right, Anestis, have a great night. We will talk to you soon and have a great competition next week.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, see you, Anestis. We're gonna flip from Greece straight to the UK for a woman whose name you've probably seen a few times over the last year or so, Syria Mayha. She's from Albania, but I actually didn't even know this until today. You live in the UK.
Yes. I've been here for 12 years now, and I was actually born in Italy. So I was born in Italy, raised in Italy, and now I live in the UK, but I'm Albanian in my blood. Yes.
All over the place.
Yeah.
We're gonna we'll talk about some competition stuff. She just a preview, but she got second place in Athens Throwdown, and she won a competition this past weekend at Sarajevo Throwdown. But I think, Syria, there's a good chance that the people listening to this, if they've seen you compete before, maybe, but they probably haven't had a chance to learn about you or hear from you. So just before we do anything else, can you give a little introduction about who you are and kind of how you've worked your way up to being as good as you are at this thing?
So my name is Syria. I'm 26. I've been doing CrossFit for 5-6 years. And I started it while I was working full time in engineering, and it gave me. I just loved it right away, to be honest. I just wanted to do more of it. So I would wake up in the morning very early. I would go do CrossFit, go work, go CrossFit again. It just made my days better. And then as I went back to university, because it was between my second and third year of university, I went back. I had more time, so I was able to pick up more. Honestly, I can't. I was able to do more hours. I was already doing double sessions, and then it got to a point I was like, I'm investing so much time on this. I might as well start competing and trying to make something of it. So I went to Athens. That's actually my first competition that I did scaled. So that's why going again was quite important for me. And I did well. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing good at this. So I just kept it up while I was studying, and I finished my degree last September. And I was planning on going for a PhD in aerospace engineering, but then I started winning. I won in Milan. It looked like my CrossFit career was progressing well, so I thought, okay, let me just try and do this for like a year or. So I just loved it and did more of it, and I still did the classes with my gym. But I was following Mayhem programming, so I followed it for the past 3 years, and I just noticed that I had some weaknesses after semifinals last year. I noticed it was strength, so I did a good off season where I just focused on that, and then now it's become conditioning, so now I'm doing a lot of that. So it's a continuous ongoing process, but in the same way I was quite good at university studying. I like to study a lot the sport, and I study a lot myself, and I am able to let some areas go, like my cardio. I let it go for a while. It was sad, but I was okay letting it go because I knew that this other thing, my strength, was more important, and I didn't want to have big holes. And it showed good in Athens, for example, because I was always expecting that the next WOD would show one big weakness. I would fall down the leaderboard, but I kept a consistent placing. So I thought, okay, I'm quite well rounded. I'm doing okay. But yeah, I just found a passion, and so far it's been this. I just found it. It might shift, but at the moment it's CrossFit, and I just want to take it how far it can go. And I'm progressing well, so because I'm getting feedback from it, I keep giving back to it, and it's just this ongoing relationship with the sport. But I haven't hit my ceiling yet. I don't feel I've hit it yet because there are so many areas, like my double unders. They're a big problem. So I still feel like it's an easy fix that would help me a lot. So there is so much work I can still do. So I'm going to keep going for it until I feel like there is nothing left I can do.
Yeah, I remember maybe the first conversation that you and I had, and you were telling me that you were kind of in this spot where you were trying to decide how seriously to take this. And then you qualified for the semifinal a little bit unexpectedly. And that really was a catalyst for a lot of what's come since then. Yes,
that's true. But even qualifying for semifinals, in my heart, I didn't feel, because you remember there was an issue with the standard of box step-ups. And a lot of people got caught out on that. And I felt like I didn't, because I was quite slow. So I was doing the rep but I felt like maybe, because I qualified 32nd, there were 40 spaces. And I thought more than 8 women were penalized. So even if I made it, I still felt like, but maybe I wouldn't have made it if this and that. So every time there is always like, I was so lucky. But as I keep competing, and I can't keep telling myself, I'm so lucky, every competition, I'm so lucky, because things are going well. So I'm starting to build some sort of calm confidence in the fact that I have some capabilities, and it's worth pursuing.
Your friend and rival at many competitions says there's another secret to your success here.
What's that? Is that Christina?
Yeah, she said, and she started to eat bread.
Oh, I eat a lot of bread. In Albania, we eat a lot of bread. It's like the favorite carb. I eat a lot of rice as well, but bread is very good because it doesn't weigh you down between sessions. So when I go to my second, I don't feel very heavy. But carbs are very important in CrossFit. So big portions of carbs.
The other thing I wanted to ask you before we get to the competition, and Anestis talked a little bit about this too. is just your family. I know that especially your dad has been a big support for you. So if you just wanted to say something about that.
Yes, so my dad he came to Athens as well 2 years ago. He comes to competitions with me because I'm quite scared because I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how accommodation and traveling. And since the beginning, he always told me, even in engineering, my degree or jobs or everything, he was always like, yeah, you can do it. Why can't you do it? Of course you can do it. He was always quite like, you have all the doors open, Syria. Why not? Even there was a time in my life I wanted to be an astronaut, and because I was studying aerospace engineering, it would have made sense. So you can do that too. But he's also very calm, and it's a very calming thing to have someone that has most. He's older now. He has gone over the stress and worrying, so he's quite. So it's a calming presence, and it's funny because he doesn't know the events or CrossFit specifically, so he doesn't know when he comes and watches an event. He doesn't know if I'm ahead or behind. He just cheers when he finishes. It's nice. Yeah, and the nice thing about him is that every time I'm stressing and I say, "Oh, I'm not gonna even podium, and this is gonna go so bad," he was like, "Okay, we just go and we show up. We do our best." It's I never get. No, you're gonna win. Even second place is enough. I don't get anything like that. I just get we show up, we try our best, we try. It's a very calming presence. It's very good. Apart when he snores, because in Athens I could hear him. It ruined my recovery. After by day 3 I was gone. But no, when he can, he comes because he works and he gets tired because I compete a lot. I'm all over the place. So he didn't come in Sarajevo, but he came in Athens because we also have family there. So he has 2 brothers that live there. So on Monday we went and visited family. Albanians are everywhere. We are sparse in Europe. So we have family a bit, yeah.
Well, let's look at these competitions. We'll start with Athens Throwdown because it was first. And as you said, you've been there before. I thought when I looked at the field, I was like, oh man, there's some decent talent in this field. I think Karen was definitely on paper the favorite to win, but behind her, maybe 5 or 6 women that I thought could definitely contend for podium spots. But when the competition was going on and when it got to the end, it was really 2 women that separated from everyone else. I mean, you were just only 6 points behind Karen and significantly ahead of the 3rd, 4th, 5th place athletes there. Are you surprised at all by how close you're getting to someone like Karen Frey?
I like to plan, analyze the floor, and I knew who to look out for, and I didn't even calculate Karen. So I didn't even. The first workout, for example, it was a cheaper, and it was in stations, so you could see at what point everybody was looking left and right. And I didn't even pay attention to Karen. I just cared about the 2 ladies on my left and right. I was like, okay, if I'm 1 rep ahead of them, it's enough. But I didn't know that the lady on my left was ahead of Karen as well. So I didn't expect to get anywhere near. So I was very surprised, but even after the first day where I won both events, I was like, this is gonna happen because this is too good to be true. And because until you face all of these strong athletes, you don't actually know. I know that the Open went well, but you never know how seriously do people actually take the Open, because the more advanced people just go through the workouts in the Open, when I actually did them 2 times, 3 times, because maybe my ego, but I just wanted to do them well. So you never know until you are on the floor. So I went in and I saw some of these ladies. There are, apart from Karen, there are a few ladies that made games in teams. Some ladies that made big competitions, semi-final levels, a lot of them from Europe. So I expected to crumble in 1 event at least, to go in the bottom half or something. But it didn't happen, so I was very surprised. And so, yeah, we got close up to the final event. I was 1 point behind, and I had calculated, because some people don't like to calculate, but I like to analyze and see what I have to do to get ahead or not. If I had won the final event, we would be even, but out of first placings, I would have won. So it was up to the very last thing. But then the last event had pullovers in it, and I was warming them up in the warm-up area, and they weren't going well. I was doing sets of 2, and my head was already spinning. So when I went into the final event, I was very cautious before I got to the pullovers, and you cannot be cautious. Like you cannot. You either you go for it, and if you go slow, it's over. So I saw Karin got ahead. So at that point, I was like, okay, I switched down a gear. In the time I switched down a gear, I went from 2nd to 6th because those ladies were right behind us the whole time. So that's what made the separation, because we were just, that one point. But these ladies, they're very strong. You fall back a bit, and everybody's there. But I was so happy during this competition. There was one event where me and Karin were synchro the whole time. And then right at the end, there was a backward handstand walking. So it was quite a hard skill. And that separated us for a few seconds. But it was just the whole process of being right next to her. And just so good. Loved it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the results there. Mostly top 3 finishes, a couple just on the outside. And you mentioned that you've been working a lot on your strength in the last year. But I think most people would be surprised at just how strong you actually are. Is it true that you did hit recently a 90 kilo squat snatch?
Yes, in Sarajevo, it was like I felt like I had it in me, but in training, I don't go very, like maximum do is about 90%, and I'm always quite sore. So unless I'm deloading properly and I go in competition, I'm not very fresh. And I don't hit PRs almost never in training, just in competition. But they had in Sarajevo this beautiful snatch ladder, and it ended at 90 kilos. So I managed to hit it. It was beautiful. Especially because in the Balkans, people are so warm, and it was a small competition, and the cheering, the people, was just beautiful. But it was 88. It's been 88 for 10 months. So it was 2 kilos in 10 months. But I really wanted that 90, which is, I wrote it there, 198 pounds for...
Yeah, and and I think it's interesting to me because snatching, you see this incredible mobility that you have in addition to the strength. But when you do a heavy clean and jerk, you go for basically the push jerk.
Yes, I gave up a bit on split jerk because I've worked on it for so long, and I just can't get my feet right. And I always had a stronger push jerk, and I have a very stable spine. It's like very straight. So it helps me so much in gymnastics because it looks like I'm keeping a hollow, but I'm not. I just have a very straight trunk. So when I do a push jerk, I'm very stable. So as soon as I lock out, I don't have any oscillations. It causes difficulties in a deadlift. So everything that has hinging, it's one of my hinging is a problem for me. But then it's like I'm in a hollow constantly. But push jerk, I switched about a year ago, and then I started hitting PBs because it wasn't the lift that I was really working on, because I was always like, split jerk is the best, and I made the switch, and my overhead strength and my overhead my clean has always been stronger, but now my jerk is stronger because I found it much more. But I even squat jerk sometimes, and it's more risky. But if you lack the power, if your legs are very tired, you can get away with having less leg drive. Because once you're locked, you're sorted.
Yeah, I think you have like a 200 kilo total between the clean and jerk and the snatch. Are you ever considering doing an Olympic weightlifting competition?
I have considered it because because I'm quite heavy. I'm like 71, 72 kilos. So it's not that, when you look at the numbers, it's not that impressive because I'm tall, so I might look a little slimmer, but I'm heavy. But there is no 71 plus kilos weightlifter in Albania. So I would go in and be just me. So it would be good. But at the same time, the training they requires is quite different from CrossFit. They do so many squats, and I feel like it would take away a bit from my CrossFit, and I don't want anything to take away from CrossFit, because this is, I know that weightlifting actually has more economical support. So I know of athletes that go that route and then get this economical support and then do CrossFit on the side. But even in Sarajevo, I was talking to the guy that came second, Dino. He's a weightlifter for Croatia. He's from originally from Bosnia as well. He lives in Sarajevo, and he's gone that route. But he was saying to me how it takes away from his CrossFit, his conditioning, and competitions, because when he goes for a meet, he has to not do any CrossFit for at least a week. So I have considered it, but I don't want anything to affect my sport.
I'm going to give Patrick and Cait a chance to ask you something here in a minute, but I did want to just look at the Sarajevo competition real quick. I knew you were excited when I said we were going to ask you about it.
Yes.
Maybe not the same caliber of athletes from Athens Throwdown. It was only a week afterwards, but it seems like the athletes that were competing there, like you described, it was a really great setting, intimate setting, and a pretty well-run competition for a country. I think it's the biggest competition that's ever existed there in Bosnia.
Yes, and the first as well. And I was so surprised at how punctual they were, because that's the things that I look for a competition is, are they punctual with like they give us the schedule? Do they stick to the time? Because if I have my event 3 hours after that I was expected to do it, it does mess you up a little bit. And also, how's transport? Is it easy to get to the accommodation? Or those are all things that I look at. And this competition was very good. For the first time, I was very, very surprised. But I'm also very happy that you wanted to talk about it, because we have so much in the Balkans that is not really, people don't know about us a lot. Belgrade Games helped bring some people got to know a bit more of the Balkans through Belgrade Games, but we also have Bosnia. Albania is doing a competition that I'm going to next month in Tirana. So yeah, I'm happy. This is also why I wanted to go, because I would love to draw more attention to us, because we fall in the background to the bigger countries in Europe.
Well, we like to try to keep a pulse on everything that's going on, and so we're not going to let these ones slip by. I have Tirana Throwdown on our schedule as well, so we'll be following along. But Patrick, or maybe you want to ask a question too to Syria and then Cait as well.
Yes, I mean, one thing we have noticed, and have you been keeping track since? How many competitions have you done? Live competitions have you done since, I guess, the games?
I didn't keep track. I know I've done a lot, because I didn't. My approach wasn't always very professional, because I know that professionally people would focus on 2 competitions a year, maybe 3, and really prepare for them. But I showed up to many competitions, and I wasn't in the best shape. I wasn't for example, my conditioning was in Belgrade. My conditioning let me down. Even in this, I remember we had an event with a lot of handstand skill, and my problem there was that I couldn't breathe. It wasn't my shoulders. So I just did these competitions because you learn a lot. So I didn't really get too concerned about my placing, but more about what I learned, what I saw from other people. Even in the warm-up area, you learn so much by watching how proper athletes warm up. People I now take 1 hour to warm up for an event. I show up an hour early. The shorter the event, the more you need to warm up. So I learned so much, and I liked how I worked so far. But I think after the next competitions that I have in the next month, I will change slightly. I will try to focus more on, like, Belgrade Games is one competition that I'm looking for, and I will work through a good off season and try to build up to that so that I can peak for the competition. So I think my approach will be changing. But I did compete a lot in the past year. But it also helps. Sorry.
Not only that, but what I also noticed is that that you've been doing a couple online qualifiers. I noticed that you are you going to be making a trip to Korea, perhaps?
So I signed up for Korea, and because I signed up for the French, but I couldn't submit scores for one of. I was doing so well. I was 4th. I was like, oh, this is so good. But I couldn't submit scores for the last qualifier. I had some things happening, and so I was like, does it mean that I only have the online this year? And so Korea was still open, so I signed up for Korea, and they also had this beautiful thing. They offered money for each event winner online. So every person that won the qualifier would win $250. So I was like, let me try and sign up because they might be able to pay me the flights back. And at the end, I think I'm second, tied with Choi. So I would be first tied with Choi. But I won no events. I won nothing, and it was like so disappointing because I clearly have nothing amazing, but just kept up. But due to the volume of competitions, I thought that it would be just too much. And I know, like Kaya, for example, she is really focused, of course, on semifinals, and I would, by that time, I'm going to be drained because of all this competing. So I don't think I will be shining very well. So I thought I'd not go. But I was a good, very nice qualifiers to do.
Yeah, because what I've noticed is since the Belgrade Games, you've been competing, like you said, with some of these top athletes. And it's starting to show where it's even showing in these online qualifiers too, because your name sticks out when you start seeing some of these games athletes, and then you see a name that you're not familiar with. When you see a Carioca and then you see your name. When you see the Belgrade Games and you see how close you are to a podium with some of the best athletes in Europe, and then seeing something like this, the best athletes in Asia, and here you are. Sahara has been someone that who's won the Asia semifinal the last 2 years. Choi was the one that won before, and then you're right there, and it just that has to help your confidence a lot. But you also seem like you're very grounded on top of that too. So you still realize you have a lot of weaknesses, but at the same time it hasn't left. You still notice that you're making improvements. So I just thought that was really cool, and also talking from an athlete, like I know Sahara really takes being Turkish. She's very proud of that and bringing that. And I see you kind of have that when you talk about, your Albanian, you being Albanian, how you want to kind of make it cool to be Albanian and be fit,
Isn't that cool? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool because I know, like Sahara, she really takes being a role model seriously, especially for countries where they don't see women doing a lot of physical things. I think you take a lot of pride in that too, and I think her advice to you, I don't know if you've talked to her or not, but I just say keep on doing what you're doing, girl.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead. I think it's really important to point out, I think that you said that you had started as competing on scaled Athens and then went all the way to getting second place. And I think that is sometimes looked over when we talk about elite level athletes, and that people think that they just jump into elite level competition. But sometimes you find yourself in that middle ground of something that you really love and you might be good at it, and trying to figure out if you should go all in or not. So do you have any advice for somebody who would fall into that bucket of being unsure if they should, put everything that they have into competing?
If they want to put everything into competing, it's very important that, for example, I have no family. I have nobody that I'm taking care of. And I have parents, but I don't take care of them. But it's very important that when you focus only on one thing, it takes away from a lot of other things. So it's a very selfish sport. You have to be selfish to be good at one thing. So you have to weigh the things out. So are you in a position where you can be narrow focus on something? Do you have the economical support to do it? Because sometimes the drive, the passion is not enough because there is so much happening around. But I noticed that sometimes the elites don't show how they were at the beginning. And I don't know if because of their own confidence or I don't know why, but I remember when one of the open workouts came up, the one with the bar muscle ups. The first time I did it, I got no reps because I didn't have bar muscle ups, and I was chicken winging it, but then taking my hand off and doing something weird again. And I did 11 of those weird things. And I didn't know there were no reps until I was, there are no reps. So I showed it, I posted it because I found it very funny. And then people were like, thank you for showing this to us. This is very inspiring because you're so good now and you were like us. And of course, I was like, well, nobody, especially because it's so skilled, nobody knows how to do everything. It took me 10 months to do a keeping pull-up because I was doing a lot of strict work. The keep I didn't get it for a long time. And so it's nobody's born knowing everything. Some people are stronger, some people are more prone to being good at gymnastics, but it's so varied that you're always not good at something. Even now, people are like, even the elites will have some weaknesses and they will have some beautiful things, but that's also why you stay grounded in the sport, I think, because there is always someone that's better than you at something. Even in the smallest comp, there's someone that's faster than you because they're smaller, and they might be weaker or something, but they're faster than you. So if the WOD is shuttle runs and burpees, they will beat you. So it's quite, it keeps you with your feet on the ground because you're not the best at everything. Unless you are like the best at everything, but you're not. I'm not.
Cait, anything else for Syria?
No, that was it. I think that's really great. It can be really scary to bet on yourself and go all in. So, more power to you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Syria, thanks for making time on the evening there in the UK. Congratulations on 2 awesome competitions. And I think that, as long as she continues to compete, we'll see your name popping up there. You've got a lot of talent, but you also put in a lot of work.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
All right, Syria, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
See you later. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We, nice to hear from some of those. I think we may actually have a surprise coming in here in a minute. I saw a friend in the chat, but Cait, you probably haven't heard from athletes from this part of the world too much before, and you hear them talk about a little bit just the pride that they have and the communities there. Any impressions just from hearing from them a little bit?
I do think it's really cool, just like you said, to see how much pride they have in representing their country. I don't know if it's because we have so many athletes in North America that maybe gets lost, but they talk about it, I think, with Victor Hoffer as well. Like last year during his semifinal, how cool it was to represent his country. And you just don't hear that. So I think it's cool to hear their perception of things and how it is outside of where we're at.
PC, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, Aston Villa just scored. They're up 3-2.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, you've been totally locked in on the end of the Premier League season.
Well, it's their UEFA Champions League right now, semifinals.
Oh, this is Champions League. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're playing Paris. So speaking of which, I think we got Augie here. There he is.
I saw him in the chat giving some love out to the Balkan region, and I just messaged him and said, hey, you want to come in for a few minutes? Augie Valicnik, I think the forever fittest guy in Croatia, champion of Sarajevo Throwdown. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. What's up? How are you?
What is that shirt?
It's just my life, like coffee, go to the toilet, train, and just repeat in circles.
I love it.
We'll keep you on for maybe 10 minutes or so. I know you're getting ready for bed, but if no one has seen you or heard from you before, can you just give us like the 2 to 3 minutes of who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah. Why not? So basically, I'm from Croatia. I've been doing CrossFit for like maybe 7-8 years now, and since I started, I've been a champion of Croatia. That's a little bit funny, but it is what it is. So 8 years in a row, champion of Croatia. I'm a PE teacher in high school. I have my own gym, Agis Gym in Croatia, in Zagreb, and basically I'm an sport enthusiast, but CrossFit is definitely my life now, last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's from what I've known, seeing you in competitions, you love to compete, but you also have a big community around you that they support you, but you also seem to support them getting involved in competitions.
Yeah, that's my like goal of my life, like to try to get as much people into this sport as I can every day, every day.
And and I wanted to, well, let's stick with that. Why do you think that it's valuable for people to compete, even if they're not maybe the best in their country or their city?
I mean, like that feeling after a competition is something that I cannot describe. Anyone who has done any competition knows that when the competition is done, you are filled with such good emotions and such good motivation to continue doing what you did even more with more fire in yourself. So that's where I always tell my people, look, guys, I don't want you to be to beat anybody. I just want you to perform the best as you can and to be happy when you're on the floor. And that's the way I talk to them, and they are super happy when we finish the competition, especially for now. For example, in Sarajevo, it was really nice. Like you said, a small competition. It was really like private competition, and it was really nice. Everybody did their best, and we had an amazing time. Really cool time.
I've been trying to give, we had Anestis on and in Syria as well, just to give you guys a chance to shed some light on what CrossFit or competitive fitness is like in the different countries and in the region over there. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to add about how things are going in Croatia and in the Balkan region in general, because a lot of the people who listen to this will not have very much exposure to that apart from what you guys share.
Yeah, true. So basically in Croatia, it's going okay. I mean, as you know, Europe is not the best position with obesity and with all this stuff health-wise for people. And we are fourth in Europe by obesity for kids to 18 years. So we are really in a bad position. And I did a sport college, and my like true purpose is just to try to get as much kids involved in sport as I can. And this sport is really fun, and I'm trying to get more and more people involved through politics and through whatever I can, just to try to make it bigger. But where Balkan region is getting stronger in this field. But I'm definitely I have to try harder. But I cannot find any time. That's the problem. I like to compete. I like to go to the competitions, and I just cannot find time for everything. But I promise you, when I'm gonna be done with competition, that means in 20 years, I'm gonna go more for the sport, definitely. Yeah, but it's going good. It's going good, I have to say.
This is Patrick dug into the archives here on short notice. This is a picture from 2019. This was the first time that I ever saw your name was qualifying out of Croatia as a national champion that year. Can you talk about what this moment was like? It was a long time ago now, but to be able to represent your country and your part of the world like this.
Yeah, it's goosebumps all the way now. Thank you Patrick. Thank you for the picture. But it was really nice. I mean, I didn't do any sport on this level, and this was really amazing time for me. And when I get the chance, I show it to everybody because I'm super proud of this. And this year is gonna be my second. Actually, I qualified for the Masters this year. So I'm gonna go to America again. Yes. But,
I didn't know. I didn't know if you wanted to give away your age. I wasn't gonna tell everyone how old you are.
But still, I look younger. But this picture means the really world to me. Yeah, it was my first ever going to America and to show to the world that Balkan region has some good athletes. And but I was like 2 years into CrossFit when this happened. I couldn't do any like one ring muscle up, and I was like pretty embarrassed what's gonna happen there. But I managed to get to there, and that's really good emotions when I see this picture. Definitely.
Patrick or Cait, any questions for Augie while we got him here?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at this and you talk about such an amazing moment this was, and I can't help but think like, there's a lot of people like myself, Brian, other analysts, and we kind of look at the 2019 games, and we kind of like some athletes or some people will dismiss it because there's so many athletes, not that many events. Some people only did one event. But then I see something like this and I hear your story, and it makes me wonder, it makes me appreciate like that someone like yourself got that opportunity and and because of that opportunity, you've carried that opportunity and that experience the last 6 years, and you're helping kids. And it's such an amazing moment for you, and you have a wife and kid as well. But that moment ranks up there with your wife and kids. I think wife and kids, and then this moment. But I just think it makes me think that this moment, or the 2019 games, should get a lot more credit for spreading the joy and the joy of CrossFit. And part of me almost wishes that it would come back. Maybe not like it was in 2019, but some version of that, because of moments like this and what you went through and what you've done since 2019. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, how would you like to see the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the way you just explained it, it's really good. The way it happened 2019. Maybe to think of something similar, but better for all athletes. I understand that it's not the perfect way to approach, but definitely that year made this sport much stronger and much bigger than it was before ever. And I think that's a good way to do it, but to think of some more fair way. I understand why it's not unfair, but I think it meant really, really big on the world stage to have something like that. Maybe to think about that would be great. Yeah, to do something like that again.
Cait, any questions for Augie after listening to him for a few minutes?
Just wanted to say, I think it's really cool. We talk a lot about supporting our CrossFit community, but it sounds like you are supporting your community in terms of your country even further. So making sure, like, outside of CrossFit, that the kids are staying healthy and your population is staying healthy. And I think that is definitely something that we need to do better at, is looking outside of our CrossFit community and helping what we know in CrossFit and helping our community, our state, our cities. So I think that's really cool that you're using your reach outside of just the CrossFit community.
Yeah, I'm really trying. I'm basically, I did apply for new sport program for our school, which I would like to get in, but it's similar to CrossFit. It's like round up a lot of things for kids to do, because kids these days are not doing the same thing that they were doing like 20 years ago when the original sport program was written. So that's the way. That's why I'm trying to maybe change that, but it's really hard. Like the people there on the main positions are really stubborn, and it takes time. But I think I'm after like a few years, I'm gonna try to change that, because I think this way of programming things, it can be really fun for the kids, and we can get them to move more and to learn more through the CrossFit way of things. That's my goal through 10 years.
Augie, I think last thing we'll ask you about here, Patrick's found another gem. Look at that picture. My goodness. Confirmed for Belgrade Games. There, I know there's been some big athletes announced for this, and last year the Belgrade Games was the biggest competition that had ever existed in the Balkan region. Obviously, you were there participating in it. So if you're thinking, where have I seen this guy before? Maybe it was this one. But it's coming back again this year. And can you talk a little bit about that experience last year and what you're looking forward to this year with Belgrade Games?
Definitely, yeah. Look, the way that Belgrade made everything last year was really amazing, and I'm coming back for sure. And I wanna just say that this competition is just not about like Balkan region, about us, about CrossFit. Is just about showing to the world that we can be a community after anything that happens. And this is a great picture, Patrick. Thank you. And basically, I'm definitely gonna try my heart. I'm gonna do my best and do whatever I can on this competition to show to the world that we can be a community after everything. And a community is more important than any result, that anything else in the world. That's why I like this competition. I'm gonna go there forever.
Augie, man, I'm super happy that you saw your comment there and that we were able to catch you tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll say, in the global sport of CrossFit, there's the legend and the original person of Rich Froning, but as I've traveled around the world, I've seen a lot of people in different communities that maybe they don't have that global impact, but in their communities they do. And to put, I would say that for your community there, you're having that similar kind of impact as Rich, of not just on the floor, but in this community with the competitive community, the everyday athletes, and also just having an impact on health and fitness in your region.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. It means a lot.
I'm grateful that we got a chance to share some of that with people who maybe don't get to meet you and know you like we do.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for chatting. It was like not too long, but really sweet. Yeah.
Congratulations! Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the Masters, and we'll see you here in the U.S. again.
Yeah. Can't wait, guys, to show you because I finished the 21st on the leaderboard and the Masters because I did Athens Throwdown and semifinals at the same weekend. So I had like 15 workouts in 3 days. So I'm gonna be better at America. I'm telling you.
That's great. Well, good luck. Keep on doing what you're doing. Love the sweatshirt. I love it. Yeah. Keep on being that beacon of light for the community, the Balkans region. And we'll talk to you later, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. I'm gonna have a good night. You have a good day.
Okay, see you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was a little bonus for you guys. We weren't expecting him to come on.
I'm going to change the title to this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Well, he's a great personality, ton of energy, super good role model. So that was a nice little addition. I wasn't expecting to have. It's late for those guys over there. As Patrick, this is like middle of his working day.
I know. I'm just starting my night. Yeah. No. I just think it's really cool. Like, I know it's like these stories aren't being told, and every time we can bring someone on and they tell that type of story, whether it be the struggles of Greece, someone in the comments, I think it was Avra, brought it up about just like it is a real problem. The sport isn't growing, but you have the people there in the community that's willing to help it grow. And then you look at the Balkans region where someone like Luka and Lazar have kind of grown that sport. They kind of, that region, and it's just crazy how that's all interconnected. We had 3 different athletes, but all of them were all competing at the same event, and they all know each other because of the closeness of that European community. And that's at the semifinal level. These are like semifinal type athletes. We see that in the U.S., but it's usually the top athletes. When you see Hopper, Dallin and Justin, they're really close because they're the top. But you don't see that closest maybe in that semifinal athletes in the U.S. Maybe you do, but that's like state to state. We're talking countries and languages. CrossFit it's a universal language, and I think that just showed it right there, and it's just really cool.
Okay, well, yeah, 2 good competitions in the Balkan region and 3 great personalities to be able to hear from there. But let's shift focus here to what was actually advertised on on the thumbnail. I sprung these things on Patrick today. We had some great guests on last week as from the athlete side, and I thought, let's see what they're doing. And they were all really excited about it. So it was great to give them a voice. For me, sometimes better to even hear from them than from us. So either way, there's a big competition coming up this weekend in South America. I would say that for people who've been to it, which I've never have been, that Copa Sur seems to be thrown around as one of the most fun, entertaining, passionate, exciting crowds and atmospheres that you're ever really going to come across. And that tracks with South America in general. They're usually well known for that in terms of soccer, but they have some big basketball nations, some big baseball nations, and they obviously have had a couple athletes who've made a global impact on CrossFit and competitive fitness as well. So throughout the predictions this morning, Cait said that she had the actual answers for us, and so she didn't want to share them. She's going to, I guess, tell them to us live. But I will say this.
I have them.
Oh, she just didn't want to share them with me. I see how it is.
Well, I didn't share yours with her either. So to be fair, you know, so, but yeah, the one interesting thing about Copasur, sidebar, Brian, is you know, they've been a semifinal since 2022, and they're the I think they're the longest continuously ran semifinal, because obviously there's Mid Atlantic and there's Syndicate. You know, they've alternated. I mean, now they've gone with Syndicate, but since 2022, it's been Copasur, and I don't know. This year's going to be different, and it was quite a. I kind of gave Cait some homework on this, the challenger, and I'm going to say I'm impressed, and hopefully you will be too. So, you know, Brian's picks were put up earlier, and I'm going to pull up hers here in a second. Want to start with men or women? You guys decide.
I think you already had the men up. Let's start with the men. Ladies for last.
Okay, so.
And we'll say this, you know, there was a notable drop off in terms of participation in South America this year, as with some regions, about 50% of the signups for the Open. And there's some big names that are missing from this field. Obviously, Guimaeros is not there. Kaique Cerveni is not there. But and there's a few others that maybe aren't as familiar because they haven't qualified for big competitions in the US, but there's still some very talented athletes in this field, a couple previous CrossFit Games qualifiers on the men's side, and some who've also been sort of on the cusp. I think that you will see a little bit less depth overall, which means that one thing to keep in mind if you're following along or watching this weekend is that the margin for error is extremely small in this competition. We saw it with Guy a couple years ago when that event ultimately kept them out of the games. And this year, I think that a lot of the names you see here, look, there may be one or two guys that are relatively new, like Anestis was talking about, that just kind of pop up and they're in the mix. But these are sort of the established names in South America. And I think that most of these guys are going to have mostly top 10 finishes, which means that there's going to be a high premium or high cost to pay, I should say, if you happen to have a bad event.
Cait, did you kind of find, I mean, what did you find in your deep dive of the of this? Yeah.
I'm just going to preface, I am not familiar at all with these athletes. However, I have seen one compete in a very intimate competition. I've seen Marcus Moreira. He competed, my affiliate in November had a small in-house competition, and he actually was there and won. So I have seen him compete. As far as the rest of them, I just did some searching on their past results for the Open and any semifinals or anything like that. So not super familiar, but I'm getting familiar.
Well, I mean, at the top here, we both have Kalian Souza, definitely the most recognizable, definitely the most accomplished name on this list. And quite frankly, similarly to what I think what Syria was saying about Karen Frey, you know, this just looks like his competition to lose. You know, this is a guy who's gone toe to toe with, you know, Luka Djukic in Saudi Arabia last year, and took him down there. And he's gotten a lot of competition experience against people from outside of South America. And one of the things you heard that some of these athletes talk about, this is true in Oceania, and it's also true in Latin America and South America. It's getting a little better thanks to things like the LATAM Cup at Wodapalooza, providing some outlets for people to get out of that bubble. But I think the big advantage Souza has here against a lot of these guys, regardless of ability, is just the experience. Living in the UAE, competing in competitions like Dubai and around the Mediterranean region, Middle East. I don't know, PC, you know some of these guys well. Do you feel similarly that he's like a clear standout here as the guy who on paper should win?
Yeah, I definitely. On paper, he should, and just live. I mean, we've seen him live. You know, especially him. I look at him and Bruno, and those guys are getting so much more. I'm not saying there's plenty of competitions in South America, just like it's here, you know. But I think the level of competition that these guys are seeing over in the Middle East, especially them kind of beating up on each other, you know, Kalian, Bruno, you know, you have a couple of the Aussies over there. You have Toby Buckland. You know, you have those guys just competing kind of against each other in every competition in the Middle East. and they bring that experience over to an event like Copa Sur, like you said, where the crowd is crazy, but it doesn't phase them at all. So, yeah, I mean, there, like you said, there's kind of a big drop off, especially with some of the notable names not on here. But hey, that's just going to breed up more opportunity, especially when we look at the women's side. What I can't get is how, you know, you have Rochelle May, who probably did the best. Granted, it's the Open, and the Open kind of is his jam, but to have him at ninth, such a huge drop off for him. I know he didn't have the best performance at Mayhem, but you know, it just seems like is he becoming like the I guess the Alex Vigneault of South America, where he's just like always there and then just kind of slowly, steady dropping off?
I'm not sure. I mean, 3 years ago, he was second place in South America. And for most of the rest of the time since then, I've been thinking that he's had that potential and kind of rating or ranking him respectively. But his performance have just been moving in the wrong direction. He went from second to sixth to 11th over the last 3 years at the South American semifinal. He does have a decent amount of experience training around the world, especially spending a lot of time in Cookville with the Mayhem crew. You know, he's as savvy as anyone. I don't know what it is. You know, he's not. It's not like he's too old. He's in his late, you know, mid to late 20s. He should theoretically be, in a peak spot in terms of performance. But I think he sometimes have had a couple injuries. There was one year where he got a bunch of sort of brutal no reps that I think kept him from being up there. And some of these guys that are, first of all, I think that this is going to be really tight from like 4 through 10 on this list. I like the top 3 guys, as I kind of think those are the top 3 guys. And I'll talk about Bruno and Benjamin in a second. But I think 4 through 10 is pretty tight. It was not so obvious here who to slot where. And, you know, Augustin, I think, has the talent and the potential to be, like, he might be the guy who could actually beat Kalian if everything works out for him. It just seems like the last couple of years it hasn't, and so I was hesitant to put him too high up.
Cait?
I put him higher because I put him in fourth, just because he was at Mayhem. He has had some good performances in the past, so I'm thinking just with the depth of the field, maybe that will give him an advantage. But I was surprised when I saw Brian put him in ninth.
Okay, guys, don't give me too much grief. He's probably going to give me a lot of grief for this too. So.
I'm giving him grief too.
So what happens is I make my list and I don't look at yours because I don't want yours to influence mine. But then I'll like check it before I send it to Patrick, and I'm like, oh, that was surprising, because I just didn't expect that. Again, I don't really know anything, but just because, you know, I have seen his name a few times, I put him in fourth. But
yeah, no, he absolutely has that potential for sure. I've trained with him before. I've seen him compete before. There's some things, I mean, he's had world record style performances on events. He's absolutely lethal in certain scenarios. I do think that depending on the workouts that come out, you know, like I said, one penalizing event can really make a big impact on here. And when you have a guy that's like so good at certain things, that usually means that he's not good at some other things. And I do think that we could see a chance where he'll have something similar to Guy from a few years ago, where he, you know, wins 1 or 2 of the events or is having a top 2 or 3 finish, but then he's the guy on this list that has a 15th to an 18th that sort of takes him out of contention. So I wanted to go back up to the top there, though. You know, I would say that if you were just kind of looking at these on paper, you know, Bruno Marins is probably the most logical second pick. I mean, he had the same number of points at Copa Sur as Kalian last year. Like Patrick said, they've gotten similar environment in the Middle East where they're getting to know each other and throw it down, get some familiarity with competition, high level competition. But I intentionally dropped him to third, even though I thought he was kind of the easy pick, because Benjamin Gutierrez is a guy who's been on my radar for a few years, and he is quite young. I think he'll be competing at 24 years old this year out of Chile. But I've seen kind of the slow progression that you'd like to see from him as an athlete who is maybe waiting to make his name known outside of just South America. Semifinals, 4th and 4th the last 3 years. And I think with a couple of spots opening up, he's the guy that I'm looking at to sort of capitalize on this, get himself on a podium, maybe get an event win or some strong performances, maybe scare Kalian a little bit. But I'm hopeful that we'll see that from Benjamin, because it feels like that's what he's trending towards.
Yeah, I mean he's seen action. I mean he's competed alongside Guy, Kalen, Kaiki. You know he's been in that final heat, so I do like that pick there. I do think I just don't know if he's better than Bruno right now or Pedro. I mean, I do like the pick. I mean, it's kind of like a free for all after that. You have a good mixture of some young athletes, young and up and coming. I think Marcus Moreira, he's 22. I think he's the youngest out of this group that you both have up there. But then you have most of these guys, like you said, Augustin is only 28 years old. But there's just a lot of experience there and a lot of newcomers there that are experienced. And Benjamin Gutierrez being that main, probably his heads above of that younger group. I just don't know if he's better than Bruno. But with only 2 slots, we saw it at Mayhem. Points are going to be tight. I don't know how many events they're doing, how many days it is, but we do know if it's a shorter thing, I mean, every point's going to count. And if that's the case, I'm going to kind of maybe lean towards the veteran athletes.
Yeah, I mean, Ben's young; he's got the experience. I'm kind of excited to see how it goes. Like you said, it's, when there's one guy that seems like the clear favorite and 2 spots available, then that leaves a lot of people with a lot of hope, a lot of, I think, coming in with like confidence. They're like, hey, this, because you have to, as an athlete, you have to adopt this mentality that I've chosen to sign up for this. I'm choosing to compete in this. It doesn't matter what anyone else is choosing to do. The opportunity is here for me now. And I think every guy that we have on these columns can come in with that sort of belief. And ultimately one of them is someone's got to finish second and someone's, got to finish first. So I don't know if I need to or want to dive in necessarily on any other of these guys specifically.
You pick one athlete. Dive on.
I was okay. I'll go with Juan Ignacio Sforzini, but I just want to ask Cait, why did you pick him for second? Because he's an interesting guy to me.
I went with my gut on all of these. So.
Well, Juan to me, the reason he's interesting is because kind of that he's the sort of the opposite of what Patrick's talking about. Well, he is over 30 years old now. He's been around for a while. He still hasn't had that breakout as a few other Argentinians have. And I got him kind of here in the middle of the pack. I kind of like that you have him up there, like leading into that veteran, leading into a guy who's maybe a long time coming for this. So if I would say like my heart pick is Juan Ignacio, but I see the road being challenging, but not impossible for him. All right.
Who's doing the programming for this? Do we know?
I don't know. I think it's them. I think they do their own programming. I almost wanted to say Mayhem because it seemed like Mayhem's done no program for everything outside of JR. But no, I think they do their own programming.
Okay.
Yeah. I do like both of you have a really good mixture because typically when you hear Copa Sur, it's usually very heavy towards the Brazilians, and I think both of you have a real. It's not that you meant to do it, but it's pretty well represented across the board. I mean, yes, the majority are Brazilians, but obviously Augustin being Argentinian, but you have a really good mixture of people from South American countries, and I hope that trend continues. That's something we saw like when it came to WFP leaderboard and when it came to their qualifiers, stuff like that. And I really like that you're seeing some of this, I guess, variety and in the group. So, Cait, was there one athlete there, that you want to kind of highlight before we move on your side?
No. I have nothing worthwhile to say. I mean that in the best way, but the only thing I said was like Marcus, I've actually been able to see him, and I think he was at Wodapalooza too. But I saw him at a small in-house comp with athletes that were, at least for last year's standards, like trying to get into semifinals, but not quite there yet. So there was definitely a large gap between him and the other athletes, but he definitely put on a show and he was really fun to watch. So I am excited to see him this weekend and kind of see where he falls.
Yeah, it looks like a personal trainer. So living in Miami area. So
his profile picture is from my old affiliate, actually.
Yeah. So. Wow. Okay. Does he follow Black Sheep?
I doubt it. Probably not.
Well, there we have the men's side again. Some notable names missing, but I think that's exciting. Brian, I do have a question here before we move on to ladies. We had a little discussion about this earlier, and Cait, I want your opinion on this. Is what do you think about South America, especially this year, and what getting 2 games invites, the same amount of invites that Mayhem Classic did?
I think that it's just this, there's so many new things in the season this year. And I think, it wasn't very obvious of what the best way to distribute these spots was. And I also think the implications of having an event prior to semifinals compared to after was missed in the event, in the distribution of those things, because, having 2 at Mayhem, how many are there at Syndicate Crown? 2 also? Two. But what's going to happen is, because people have already qualified for Mayhem, because people will already qualify through the online semifinal, and then possibly Syndicate Crown before we get to Oklahoma City and NoCal, like those fields are just going to get like diluted a little bit. And on the flip side of things, you see like what's happening with Roman right now. He took 3rd against a really good men's field. Like I would say that the Mayhem men's field definitely deserved 3, if not 4 qualifying spots to the game based on the caliber of athlete. I'm not sure I would say the same thing about the women's field. On paper, certainly super talented athletes, but you have in the men's field, at least 4 of what I would say are the top 10 guys in the world, possibly 5. So I would say verdict's still out to see just how good Colton has gotten, but very few people are going to say at this point that Roman, Austin, James, and Jason aren't amongst the top 10 guys, but that wasn't taken into account at all. And so now Roman had a great performance, beat the defending games champion, beat Hopper, who podiumed at Rogue. He got nothing for it, and now he's looking for a gym in Malaga, and he's going to have to go try his hand against a field of 80 athletes there next weekend. Depending on how that goes, then he might have to do the online semifinal. He's committed to WFP. He might be competing 4 times in 5 weeks and potentially could still not be coming out of that with a games qualification. He's not the best online competitor, so that's not really what he wants to go through. He probably is one of the top guys in Malaga, but if you have a field of 80 and one thing goes wrong, you're done. And the spots are at such a premium. And so could you imagine a scenario where we don't see Roman at the CrossFit Games?
Yeah,
he's competed 4 times to get there, but he already has beaten 2 of the best guys on earth in a competition at the start of the qualifying season. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't have anything to do with South America. It was just something that I've been thinking about.
I think it does, because I mean, there's a scenario where, again, like you said, there's going to be someone like Roman. There's going to be it happens every year, but I think you're going to see a lot more this year than in past years, where you're going to have some good athletes, but someone like Roman is going to be at the game.
Imagine if he podiums at Mayhem 3rd, podiums in Malaga 3rd, takes 15th in the qualifier, podiums at Syndicate Crowd 3rd, and doesn't get to compete at the games.
Yeah, and then and nothing to take away from someone like Benjamin Gutierrez, he will be at the games.
Yeah, and of course there's the nuance about who would beat Roman at Wildland Fest. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked that closely at the all the events and the field there, but I would say like potentially Aniola Kai comes to mind right off the bat as someone that I know is there. But I haven't actually dialed in supremely on that field yet, and I do think that there's a great chance that Roman wins that competition. But when it's 2 spots, huge field, he's traveling across there. A lot of the athletes are local to there. He's coming off of a high-level competition. He hasn't competed at all since last year's CrossFit Games, so we're obviously assuming that he's at full health, but we just don't know. So there's advantages and disadvantages, same as everything else. But and this is something else I was thinking about. Maybe he should skip WFP. Maybe not, because that's a guaranteed income for him. And right now in the CrossFit Games season, he has no guaranteed income. In fact, he will make less money by finishing 5th at the games this year than he will in his guaranteed contract with WFP if he just shows up and does nothing there. So I would say if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, WFP is a great saving grace for someone like Roman in the case that the worst case scenario happens with this new qualification for the game season. So anyway, for South America, I would say historically, their performances at the CrossFit Games on both the men and women's side have been somewhat similar to Asia. And Patrick, you told me they only have 1 spot?
Asia only has 1 spot, yes.
So Asia only has one, and South America has two. However, if you were to search all these competitions online, you'll see that Copasur has over 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is 23,000 more than French Throwdown has. It's 95,000 more than Wadland has. It's 100,000 more than Asia has, or 97,000 more. Like, so if you're, and CrossFit has talked about this in the past, that they do put a emphasis on the popularity or the participation rates. And even though Copasur was down this year, if they're looking at last year, there was huge participation in South America. And from that perspective, it could potentially make sense.
Yeah, I think that's what they base off the open numbers from last year. Cait, anything on that particular topic about the 2 games spots?
I mean, I think everything that Brian said was true, but if you just, all of the outside things aside, if you put the 2 competitions together and look at the field, it doesn't make sense that Copasur gets 2 and Mayhem Classic gets 2 if you are just looking at the depth of the field. Everything else outside of that, like I said, Brian, is totally right. But I think especially if Asia only gets 1, then we can get into, the followers and the popularity of the contest. But just looking at them side by side, I don't think it makes sense. And I think that 3rd spot probably should have gone to Mayhem.
And if you're distributing spots based on the region, then I can understand the equal spots per gender. But we've talked about this in the past where there's been periods of time, 4 or 5 years in a row, where the women for Oceania were incredible and the men were having maybe one person do something notable at the games. Well, the women were taking like 4 of the top 20 spots, and that's kind of the tides have turned there. Less of the women with Tia, who knows what Tia's going to do, but Kara's kind of out of the picture. Jamie hasn't competed as much. Ellie Turner came and then went, but the men are just like piling up with talent. And so we'll see this shifting over time in different regions where right now the women in Asia look super strong compared to the men. And the men in South America have been better than the women. So what if it was 2 men from here and 1 woman, but 2 women from Asia and 1 male based on recent performance? So I think that's another lens to potentially look at it through.
Yeah, and I think they almost had that. I think they had the right formula last year. I think they were right by giving Asia three spots in the women and 2 from the men, even though I think it should have been less with the men because obviously they've had an issue with getting men from Asia to the games. I mean, it helps out someone like Ann Haynes who gets a backfill spot, but that's not what you really want in that particular instance. But I think at the end of the day, I wish that Copasur was open, I think, to all athletes. It wasn't just South America. And I think, it did present itself. And I don't know what the system, I mean, more than likely the system's going to change next year again too. But, I think athletes should have looked at, and I think some of them are, especially the later competitions, looking at these competitions like sanctionals where, hey, I might be able to go to this spot to this particular event to earn a spot because the quality of people are going to be, not that high. And
why do you think that is? Because I feel like if I was an athlete in North America and it would be easy for me to go to Copasur, I feel like instead of going to Mayhem or something where it's going to be a little more competitive, I might try to go there, right? But there are no American athletes.
Yeah. I don't know. Was this did they have an online qualifier for Copasur?
I can't keep them all
straight.
I don't know. Yeah, when they pop up, I look at the leaderboards and I make some picks.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if they did or not. I don't think so. I think they invited through the open. But I don't know. It might be a cost thing or just or people just think that, or especially you North American based athletes, they figure there's enough opportunity here in North America that can do that. But I think what Roman's doing, it's risky, but at the same time, I think it's kind of smart. I mean, I think he has a chance to get in one of those top 2 spots. On paper.
We talk about it all the time that as an athlete, you just got to leave the options open for yourself. So he confirmed for that. But if he'd qualified finished second in Mayhem, we wouldn't be seeing him in Spain next week, which is also fine. Like that's the athletes have to make those decisions right now.
HCR-CBD here. I'll answer your answer. Copasur, it's in Rio de Janeiro. And maybe with new owners next year, it will be last time it changes. I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know what's going on with the ownership. Didn't Guy not go to Copasur because of the cost travel down there? One, I guess he's still technically, I don't know. I don't know what the rules for Copa Sur were. If he could have went down there and just competed and not get a games invite, like some athletes are doing, especially like he did at Mayhem. But I think with Guy, maybe he just wanted to stay at Mayhem. I mean, that's home now. It could. All right, moving on to the women. Share this tab. A little bit more difference here. Some Brian, we are going to have a new individual athlete, or at least 2 new games rookies coming out of Copa Sur, because over the last couple of years, it's been Victoria Campos and Julia Cato, and neither of those 2 competed in the Open this year. And actually, all 3 women that qualified last year did not make this list, the third one. I believe she's competing as a Masters athlete this year. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. She wasn't on this list, so
yeah,
didn't consider her.
Brian with Maria Quintero, who I was really surprised you went with her, especially she might be 4'11", has some high skills. She's been to the games on a couple really some decent teams out of South America. Brian, why Maria?
Yeah, I mean, the last time she competed as an individual in South America was 2021. She's had a ton of success on the team side of things since then. Actually, several of the women in this top 10 have primarily been doing team competitions the last couple of years. But of all of the other women on the list here, the only one that I've also seen show some potential to possibly win this competition is Emily Andrade, and I think Maria Quintero's got some talent. I think that you're going to see. I don't think that it's as top heavy on the women's field as the men's field, and so I think you can afford a bad performance because I think almost everyone's going to have one. I don't know. It was just a little bit of a flyer, a little bit of a wild card. Good team run the past couple of years. Let's see what she's got as an individual. I thought Emily Andrade was probably the more easier, obvious pick, but I decided to go with Maria.
Yeah. On your side, Cait, you picked Caroline Ferreira. What did you see out of Caroline Ferreira in your research?
In my research, I did not realize that her semifinal appearances were on team, but her team had gotten, I think, a 4th and a 1st place the last couple of years. And I think she had made an individual appearance as well. It looks like she got 21st in 2022. My wild card as well. Just cross my fingers.
Oh, she's one of she was actually the one person that I left off the top 10. I was debating between her and Sophia for the last spot there. And Caroline I've trained with her at Mayhem as well. Her and Tato Otur, her partner, were there for a little while with Guy. You guys may have seen some of them. They're awesome people. They both have a big influence on the Brazilian market down there, not just in competition, but with brands and products. I think he's got around 1 million followers actually. And, they're constantly involved in the community in Brazil, but I think she's got some potential as an individual. Like you said, she has a little bit of experience, and I would be surprised if she won this competition, but I would not be surprised if she was in the top 10.
Well, there's an athlete there, Brian. She's my, Hildur, Holgerson?
Holgerson, yes.
Yeah, she's my Holgerson. I don't know the story behind Holgerson. Is like that was Brian's next grade, not next grade, but Brian had really high hopes from him coming out as a teenage out.
Dude, he did so well at that competition, the first strength and depth one, and I was like, dang, he's that old and he just beat those guys, and it was the best competition he ever had.
Yes. So Luisa Marquez is my Holgerson. She is, obviously in your research, probably you've seen she's made the games quite a few times on a team, and she's also a former teen athlete. Still fairly young. I was able to see her live in some competitions. I saw her at Storm Games. She's very high skilled in certain events. Really lacks in some strength, but I think across the field there, you're going to be lacking some strength there. I think what we have in this field is some very, very good CrossFitters. I would put Luisa right up there with Kentaro in terms of gymnastics ability. But she's someone that I'm really high on. I'm thinking she finally breaks through and gets one of those 2 spots, even though she's been kind of letting me down the last 2 years since she started going individual. But I think maybe she might have turned the tide. She's obviously training there in the Middle East with Kalian, with Bruno. She's part of that crew there in the middle in the UAE. So that's who I'm kind of looking at. Brian, tell me I'm wrong.
No. I mean, I think to me, I like the top 4 here, as those are like the 4 that I would say are most likely to take these two top spots. And I'm not entirely sure in what order, of course, but this is how I went with it. Louisa, there's one particular lift that she's really good at. It's the snatch. If there's an event that allows her to highlight that, and she can kind of maybe the
Like
strength.
Isabel?
What?
Like Isabel?
Then that can be really good for her. Is that happening at every semifinal, Isabel?
Yes.
I was gonna ask. It is.
Even the online one?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So she should be able to capitalize on the fact. I think she's 5 feet tall, but I think she has a 200-pound snatch. So I snatched with her in Mayhem a couple years ago, and eventually I stopped snatching with her because she went past me. So yeah, she's got some skills like PC said in the gymnastics. She'll take a hit on if there's anything that's long monostructural, but no, I think she can absolutely be in the mix.
When you were at Mayhem, did you ask Rich to pay you for you to work out there?
Oh no. No, Rich was super generous.
I'm just kidding. Just making light of things.
Yeah, that was Wadapalooza 2 years ago. They invited me there, paid for me to stay in the hotel, picked me up from the airport, super hospitable. And there was a ton of athletes there. Caroline Ferreira and Tato Autor, Lucas De Rosa, Luisa Marquez. They have Augustin Ricalme, Piero Goriccion, Santiago Comba. They were all there. Ariel Owen, Ty Jenkins, Jorge Fernandez, and Brittany Weiss were there. Fun. That was super cool and incredible opportunity. Really was grateful for Rich and the crew for opening that opportunity for us.
Yeah, it was like a pro train with Rich weekend, because Rich didn't even train that much. I think he was still he was just hanging out. But Brian, on your side,
just hanging out, it's still doing almost every workout.
I know. I think they did end up doing he ended up doing some workout bench presses and stuff. Obviously, they love their bench presses. I remember him, Luke, and then Guy was just running. He spent the whole weekend just running on the assault runner. Brian, anyone from your side that you want to point out?
I'll just say the last woman in the top 4 there, Fernanda Dodo, who to me, those are the 4 women that I know more about than the rest of them. I did look up some stuff on these other ones. Some of them had really good years this year, some of in the open. And so let's see, some of them had been doing team the last couple of years. Now they're going individual. But Fernanda was 4th 2 years ago when she did go individual here. And I haven't really, she competed team last year. They were top 5 again, but haven't really seen anything that makes me think that she's dropped off and that she can't have another top 5 finish here, especially with some of the big names missing.
And Cait, on your side, someone you wanted to point out?
Not necessarily anybody specifically, but the people that I picked in my top 10, all of them have some sort of semifinal experience, and none of them necessarily home run hitters, a lot of 4th, 7th, 12th, and 15th. So I think really it can be maybe in any order, but hopefully we'll see a lot of those people. But I think it will be really competitive in terms of points, because we do have people that have been in that sort of semi-experience, and we'll see some stuff from them.
I think if there's any woman here that has kind of a home run hitting ability, it's Maria. Just in case, just looking at the Open, we talked about high level of gymnastics. She finished 6th worldwide in 25.2, and the next closest athlete in the South American field was 39th worldwide. So it shows you that her gymnastics, her ability to do. She has a lot of high skill, especially when it comes to high volume skill CrossFit. I do want to also someone to keep an eye on is 24-year-old Aline Cabral. She's someone I always look at that when it comes to athletes. Especially when it comes to semifinals, I try to look at the field and I try to find out like the age and their previous experience. And she's someone that has some experience in semifinals and in the circuit down there, and is only at 24 years old. So.
Yeah, I mean, she was 15th last year, but she improved from 640th to 63rd worldwide in the Open this year. And I know there were a ton of athletes that didn't compete, but there weren't 600 athletes that were better than her last year that didn't compete. So she's made a significant jump on a notable portion of the higher up the leaderboard you get, the higher it is, harder it is to improve. So I'm curious to see how that transfers over and what kind of improvement she can make. Obviously, I've got her improving 9 spots from last year, but it could be more, it could be less. It'll be interesting to see if that improvement translates to semifinals as well.
Yeah, and she was the most consistent in the Open. Obviously, she won the Open for South America, 150th, 131st, and a 48th worldwide. So I mean, that's pretty solid across the board. So. That kind of puts her in that upper percentage. I don't know where she ranked worldwide, but I think that at least puts her top 100. So
yeah, she was in 63rd. At PC, I saw our friend the Nuts here is asking about the programming. I just sent the link in the private chat for the programming, so we can actually take a look at it. But I saw Lynn was mentioning earlier that some of the programming is out. It looks like it's all out. So there's five, at least there's 5 events announced so far. And I'll just kind of do a reminder that I don't have any problem with any of the programming that's popped up so far that we're going to see. And I think in this format where there's a little bit of liberty, a little bit of freedom, different people are running these competitions. It's just like the sanctionals, you may look at one competition and say, man, that programming would have been better for me, or this one better. But I'm pretty confident that when all of these competitions end and you look at the leaderboards, you're going to say, yep, the fittest people ended up at the top. And, there is a huge premium on the number of spots, meaning like you could have a really good weekend and still miss out on a spot. But, you look at Mayhem's leaderboard, you look at the WFP qualifier. Obviously, we're letting the age group semifinals sort themselves out still, but for the most part, 5-6 events, and you're gonna get a good enough variety. Yeah, you might have a little more of something here, a little less there, but for the most part, it's not going to be a deterrent to any of the best people on that weekend filtering towards the top.
Man, you have 2 workouts with the Echo Bike in it.
2 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean that's always a little curious one. We've often said in the past when people are using machines, like, well, sometimes there's a sponsor obligation or something like that, but I think it would be rare for them to have an obligation to use it twice. But if the price is right, why not? Overall, I would say having 5 workouts and even 6 and 2 Echo Bikes is probably not necessary.
And leave it to South American athlete or semifinal to make the last workout a elimination style. I like it. I love it.
Well, there is a 6th one there. I just didn't scroll down. Okay, so they have 6. Yeah,
last one standing. So part 1, all athletes for time, 16 12-calorie Echo Bike, 12 pistols, 1-legged squats, 50 to 35 pounds. So I guess they're holding a kettlebell.
Yeah, like they did in the games in the finals that one year.
Yeah, then 96 feet handstand walk, pirouette on each 48-foot segment, and then you go 8 to 6 Echo Bike, 6 1-legged squats, 40 handstand walk, time cap 4 minutes, fastest 10 athletes advance to part 2, and then it's 12 and 8 1-legged, and it's just one round, 48 feet. Yeah, so it's a sprint.
So basically, to get through the first part, you got kind of twice the work. If you make it into the top 10, then it's a 5-round elimination. So you may have to do that 5 times, and I'm guessing they'll probably drop 2 people out every time.
Yeah. See, this is why I like you see a workout like this, and first thing I think is like the handstand walk. I mean, Maria is probably the best at that, her and Louisa, but they'll struggle on the Echo Bike because they're smaller athletes. They just don't produce that power. So it's kind of interesting here because I look at the program and I look at some of Maria. It's very heavy. You got heavy Isabel. You got that barbell complex. I mean, there's 3 workouts there. I have to look at the weight of the thrusters. That road to hell. The thrusters go up in weight.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is a disgusting workout. 5 rounds of 800-meter run plus anything is going to be detrimental. But you got thrusters in increasing load. I mean, you start off with almost a negligible 10 reps at 95, 65. So you're basically running a mile straight out the gate. But by the time you get to those last 10 reps at 185, 135, like there's going to be some athletes seeing stars.
Yeah, definitely.
I do kind of like that first event is very similar in a sense to the Mayhem Classic of running and destroying the legs on event number 1. I think it'll have a similar effect going into the rest of the weekend. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's patterns that emerge over time, and they emerge over time for good reason, because we know that if, look, these are ultimately qualifiers for the CrossFit Games. And if you're going to compete at the CrossFit Games, something you have to be good at is recovering. So for a programmer that's doing a qualifying event to the games to put something straight out of the gate that's really punishing and devastating. I mean, we said it, Hopper's considered one of the 10 or 5 best in the world, and he couldn't recover from that first workout, and he never got his legs back. And so, here we go. This is going to happen to people in South America too.
Yeah, that workout, shoot, I lost it. Oh, there it is. The barbell complex. Cait, you like this one. 3 cleans, 2 front squats, 1 jerk.
Yep, my jam for sure.
Yeah. This reminds me of what they did for the Far East. The Far East had their online qualifier. They had 2 hang cleans, 2 front squats was one of the workouts. So
I think they're giving the nod to 2022. This is the barbell complex from that year, but variations of this pattern have shown up many times. And if you're competing at this level, you probably have an idea within a couple kilos or 10 pounds of what you can do for this complex.
Yeah. And then Mayhem 1 is just the final workout, the Echo Bike bar muscle ups. Echo Bike, again, someone like Maria and Louisa who are really good on the bar muscle ups, they're probably going to struggle on the Echo Bike. But
we saw, exactly.
Yeah, with someone like Claudia Gluck kind of dispelled that. It's about holding on and maybe pacing yourself on that first one and trying to go unbroken and make up that time. And then the triple chipper for total reps, 3 to 4 minute intervals, 100 double unders, 2 seated legless rope climbs, 25 toes to bars, max burpee over the box. 1 minute rest between intervals.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this and it's like 2 seated legless rope climbs, it destroyed people at the semifinals a couple years ago, notable people. And especially on the women's side, this is going to be a huge separator for those ladies. If you're able to take a top 3 on this, you could very easily see some of your best competition. Even if they're good at legless rope climbs, it can just disappear on a test like this. Yeah, Lynn said it best if you want to pull that up. You're coming off the double unders. You have 25 toes to bars, which is, 25 toes to bars is not something that these athletes are concerned with if it's once. But you have to do it over and over again. And you're going to tell yourself, well, I got to get off this pull-up bar because the score that counts is the burpees. But what happens when you come back, do that second set of double unders, and get to that second legless rope climb in round 2? And I think it's at that moment where some people are going to realize that they made a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
I would not want to do
that. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, heavy Isabel. 30 snatches, 225, 155, 9-minute cap.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I mean, it feels like there's going to be some big separation on this one also, where you're going to see 1 or 2 really dominate and everyone else kind of drift behind.
Yeah, especially you get so many different athletes here. And, I didn't see him. I saw she did the open, but did you see Alexa Williams anywhere
No, and she's been competing around South America, so I'm not sure.
She's not on the. Yeah, she didn't register. Alexa Williams did not, but she competed in the open. So, I mean, she's someone I think that if she was in this field, she would probably be hands down probably the winner if she's healthy.
I would have picked her for sure.
Oh yeah, easily, because these workouts are, she's probably the.
It's really impossible to say what Cait would have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, I did this from the beginning, okay?
Yeah. And then we finished with last one standing. I mean. Yeah, I mean, we got 6 tests. Looks like, is it over 2 days or? So 1 second. Event details. It looks like it's over 3 days. So
Yep, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
yeah, which is I think overall, like the athletes will appreciate that, because what you heard from Mayhem was like, those events over 2 days, it kind of like dragged on them, especially as there wasn't much time for recovery for a lot of them. But obviously these, which was great from a spectator's point, and for, to watch, you can watch 5 hours of CrossFit and you're done, instead of watching a whole day of it waiting. But yeah.
Hey man,
So-
look, if you're an athlete who wants to be great at this sport, you can't even worry about stuff like that.
Yep.
I remember back, the inspiration for Rich programming that condensed time period is that he didn't like the alternative that he experienced at Wadapalooza several years ago, where they were competing morning, midday, and evening. And he's like, dude, I got my family here. I can't do anything. I have to be here all day. And so he slats it up there. But it's like, you're never going to make everyone happy. As the programmer, as the organizer, everyone is so concerned with what they're doing, and they're always going to pick out the thing that bothers them the most. The best athletes are the ones that don't care about any of that. It's the Colton Mertens mindset. It's why everybody loves them. It's okay, what is it and when is it? And I'll be there and I'm going to do it. And everyone else can make excuses and complain. I'm just going to get shit done. That's the kind of athlete you have to be in this sport.
Yeah. A couple other things, and then we'll let you guys go. Far East Throwdown, like I said, they did their online qualifier. Let me pull this up here. On the women's side, Sung-Young Choi won it with 32 points, followed by Syria, and then Sahar at 38, and Daewon Jung at 40. Besides that, I'm not seeing any like normal names.
I mean, Mariana Meza, best woman from Mexico, 2-time LATAM Cup champion. I mean, if she makes a trip out there, that'll be interesting. Leah Storin. But I mean, look, what you said, I think what you're about to say is, Sahar and Sung-Young Choi are the two best women that this sport's ever seen come out of Asia. I think they're going to be in an absolute dogfight, and it's going to take a great performance from anyone else to have a chance to usurp both of them. Maybe you can be one of them, but to beat them both at this competition is going to be impressive. And I don't know if that woman's in this field. I'm expecting one of them to win.
Yeah, I am too. And on the men's side, not really.
This was crazy. I mean, the guy who won it, I don't know him. The guy who's second, I don't know him.
Too.
And Patrick and I make it a pretty like a point in our life to know who these guys are. Now, number 3 we know, number 4 we know, number 5 we know, number 7 we know, 8 we know, 9 I know, but these top 2 guys, I don't know. So like you said, this is a super impressive performance, and I think similarly to the woman Aline we were talking about in South America, like let's see if you can back it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Morteza. He's now a Mayhem athlete, I believe. Kundos is one of his coaches.
Yeah, I think he has been for a while. Yeah,
I think so too.
Iran.
So I know he didn't really perform well last year when I watched him live. So who knows? Maybe it might be different this year. And then a couple other things I wanted to kind of hit on. Some news that
I'll just say my pick from this group is Andrei Fedotov. If he shows up and competes there, he's my pick. Yep. Thiago Lucis, if he shows up there, I think is the other guy that I might throw in the ring to potentially win this thing. Both of those guys have high-level competition experience and have been improving.
Yeah, I like those two.
But the nuts money is on Guy Yang.
Yeah. Go for the home front favorite. Some things that happened over the last week that we kind of didn't talk about. Emma Lawson, formerly of Mammoth Trainings, we heard that basically right before Wadapalooza that Josh Woolley was no longer going to coach, and kind of disbanded their little training program with her and Jack Farlow, and brought in Erica Folo. So the announcement was made. Emma Lawson going to Brute Strength. Brian, you know Matt Torres really well. You know Brute Strength really well. Cait, you're pretty familiar with Brute Strength as well. What do you think of this move?
Cait, go ahead.
I think it's great. I'm really excited for her to go there. I mean, it's very obvious that Brute is really killing it right now. They have a lot of really awesome athletes. I think last year he sent the most amount of people to the games. I think this is a really good move for her, and I'm excited. She's not competing in the CrossFit season, but WFP, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Excited to see what she does and kind of where it takes her fitness and her mindset. And I don't know what she's going to do next year, obviously, but excited to see kind of where that takes her.
Well, and I mean, I hope she stays with Brute for a while. That's what Matt Torres has really proven to be able to do is over a period of time, not just, build athletes, but bring them along in their careers. And Patrick and I have talked about this a few times over the last four years or so, that some training programs or coaches seem to be really good at getting people to a certain level, and then they can't really get them over that final hump into the top 10, into the top 5, onto the podium, or winning big competitions, depending on kind of where that ceiling is. But I don't think that that's the case with Torres. I mean, he's shown that he's able to get like the last drops out of these athletes to get them to make those small improvements over time that allow them to climb the highest rungs of the ladder. Emma Lawson's, flirted with being up there. She's drifted back a little bit, but I think the potential is still there. I think that it can, for someone like her, this can be an exciting new venture. And while you have 2 of the best guys in the world right now, or 3 of the best guys in the world with Brute, the top athlete in the Brute squad is Fee. First of all, even if Fee was the best in the world and you were on her team and competing with her, it's still Fee, and it's amazing to be around her. And she's, you're never going to feel this like threat of her. But the reality is Emma is now the top athlete in the Brute training facility, and it's not like the time when we saw it at Underdogs, where there was someone constantly coming up and challenging, and it was like good and bad to be in that sort of dramatic environment where you didn't know who was the best and people were constantly chasing you. That works for some people. I think that Torres has shown that, give me 1 or 2, let me work with them for a year or 2, and you're going to see likely the best version of them. So I don't know how quickly he'll be able to extract that from Emma Lawson, but I would be surprised if, by the end of 2026, if assuming they work together for the next year and a half, if we don't see the best version of Emma Lawson that we've seen yet. It could be sooner, but I think at least by then.
She's not moving, correct? She's staying up north. What has she said?
I'm not sure, but the good thing about Torres is we've seen him have success in both arenas, right? He's gotten the most out of Fee and Dallin being with him every day, and James has come and gone, and even being across the country, they're still working together and excelling at a super high level.
Yeah.
And the thing is, where she lives at, I mean, she can jump on a flight and going to Florida probably isn't a bad thing to do. And she's not moving. I mean, I believe
she posted a picture the other day about the weather. She's like, "You kidding me?" So whenever she feels like that, she can just hop down to Jacksonville.
Exactly. Yeah, and we don't know where Jack's going. I mean, I like what these nuts said. Jack's stealing Emma's program. Get that 2-for-1 deal. I think they're just 2 different athletes, so I don't think that would really work so much, because Matt does program differently for the most part for his athletes. He'll have like a common piece that they'll do together, but then he'll program a little bit differently. And then speaking of Mammoth, I mean, she's obviously not up there in terms of Emma, but Erica Folo was kind of another hot free agent that was out there. She's someone that me and Brian got to know last year. Tons of potential. She still hasn't had, like, she didn't, even when she was a Bama training, she only got to really work out and get coaching from Josh and Bama training, I think a couple weeks before semifinals, because at the time he kind of had a strict rule, like, hey, I'm only coaching Emma and Jack. And when you have someone of Folo's talent, she just hadn't had a real coach. So she's heading over to Misfit. I think that's actually a good move for her. Misfit training, it's very underrated. You don't hear as much as you used to back like in the 2015, 2016. I think it was really kind of like really up there at the time. But it still has like Paige Amenza, some other, a couple other athletes. So I think it's a really good move for her. They do really well with online programming. That's one thing I've heard great things about, is like their online programming, check-ins and stuff like that. So thoughts on Erica Folo Misfit training, Brian or Cait?
I mean, Misfits, like tried and true. It's proven over a long period of time to be successful. At the community level, they've had some good athletes over the years. They've shown the ability to maintain and improve excellence. In the case of Paige Semenza, I think that Erica has a ton of potential, and she can learn from some guys who've been around the sport for a while. I would say, similarly with what I was sort of suggesting with Emma is, you got to give these things a little bit of time, getting a new coach, getting a new feel for an athlete, really dialing in on what's going to make the difference. I think everybody saw, whether it was at semifinals or through the work that Andrew did with her last year, that a lot of the pieces are there for Erica. It's just kind of figuring out how to structure those things so that you can avoid those pitfalls in competition or eliminate some of the things that maybe are doubts in her mind, confidence-wise. And I don't know. I think Erica's the type of athlete that, like, you may not see her make dramatic improvements for the next 2 years. She might be at big competitions. She might be flirting with significant finishes and not make them. But if she sticks it out and trusts someone like Misfit that has a huge pedigree behind them, it could be 3 years from now where all of a sudden she breaks through and she's flirting with the top 10 in the world type of an athlete. I think that that's a very possible career trajectory for her.
Yeah, I would agree with Brian. I didn't really know a lot about her up until recently. There's been a lot of buzz with her, and I think what I'm hearing is really promising too. So I'm excited to see her go to a bigger, I don't want to call it a camp, I guess. Is it still a camp? I don't know. But to kind of work on that and get some good attention, I think it'll be good. But I agree. I think it's only a matter of time until we see something really good come out of her too. I'm excited to see what she does.
I guess the final thing is we'll dip into a little WFP news here. Did either of you guys watch the Laura Horvath documentary?
Not yet.
Brian?
Also not yet. It's on my list.
Okay. All right.
But you have told me that it's well, why don't you say what you thought?
So I was able to watch it. I watched it today, and it was only 18 minutes long, but you learn more about Laura in those 18 minutes than you've ever known. I'm fortunate that I've had some conversations with her, and I knew like some of her, like, I think I have it on. I interviewed her after Rogue when she won Rogue, and I asked her, hey, you're $250,000 more, richer now. What are you going to do with the money? And she goes, oh, it's building my affiliate. And that's something that a lot of people, because they don't see her out there putting stuff like that, they see what they see on the Instagram, which is what the athlete wants you to see. What I think the Buttery Bros did is they kind of peeled back some layers there about her, that she is heavily involved. She's one of the few athletes that have her level 2. And it's been a plan. There's a reason why she has her level two, because she wants to own an affiliate. And if you watch that documentary, even those 18 minutes, you're going to learn so much about her. And I thought it was just so good. I was watching Scott Schweitzer. I was watching his Lunch with Clydesdale, and he said the same thing. But it was sweet hearing Laura talking about how much she looked up to her brother and how she tagged along with him so often when they were growing up, and those experiences influenced her. Yeah, it's like her mom and dad, and even talks about their younger brother who's not really involved in CrossFit. I mean, he's always there at all the competitions. He's there, and she has a whole team. And yeah.
Well, like I said, it's on my list. I'm looking forward to watching it. Patrick did say that it was quite impactful. So if you guys haven't had a chance, I know tens, maybe 20,000 people have watched it already, which is awesome. I'm sure that will continue to grow, but definitely check it out. Heber and Mars are on the grind like usual. I know they've got some other stuff coming down the pipeline as well. So
they
their stuff. You always should be.
They tease some of that at the end of it, their next spot. And then the press release they put out said that they're going to re-release the Adler video hopefully next week. So
nice.
That'll be cool. So for those who missed the Adler video, which I thought was a really good, they're catching aspects of these athletes that we don't know much about, and we're getting to learn something about them, and giving us an opportunity to root for them if you want to root for them, I guess. All right. Well, that was it. Vila lost 3-2. Man. That's right. It was a good run. Yeah.
Yep.
So they lose the series 5-4 on 5-4 overall, but did give Paris Saint-Germain their first loss in a long time. So they're probably they're the favorites to win, I think, the Champions League. So good run by the villains. But anyways, what's next for you, Cait? What you got going on this week?
I'm finally feeling better. I was sick all last week. My parents were here for 2 weeks staying with me, so I'm like finally back to
Hey,
normal.
what were the results? Did more people train while sick or not train while sick?
I think not. They take rest days. The normal people, I guess, take rest days when they're sick.
Yeah, I am traumatized by an experience with that. It was, I think, 2017. I was feeling kind of sick, but like not feeling like sick, but not terrible.
Late, so it has to be traumatizing.
Yeah, I know, because I went to work out. I thought I would just like sweat it out, move, and be okay. And I got like 2/3 of the way done with the workout, and I was like, man, I'm not okay. And then I got really sick, like one of the three most sick that I've ever been in my life. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, like, would I have gotten this sick if I hadn't gone and trained? Like, did I dig myself further into a hole? And it did leave an impression that 8 years later, when I saw your story about that, I was thinking of that day, and I was like, no, I don't train sick anymore because of that. Like, it scarred me.
I felt better afterwards, but
I'm a big believer in sweating out the sickness or whatever, especially after you do something like that, and then you go home, you take a shower, and then you just kind of relax, and then you just, because you're so tired, you just pass out with your dog. Yeah, that's just how it is. I think that's the problem, Brian. You just need dogs.
That might be it, because I did that. I went home, I showered, I passed out. I didn't even get off the couch for the next 5 days. And if I had the dogs, I would have had to go take them off.
You would have had to, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you teach them to just shit.
Actually,
wherever.
you know what? I'm such a bad person. I would have just let them walk themselves.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you do suck. That sounds something like you would do. Yeah. So that's good. Glad to see you're back on the grind. What do you got going on this weekend, Brian?
I haven't even I planned something, and I haven't even told you about it yet. So I'm gonna keep it a secret and let it tell itself in time.
Okay, wow. Now you're gonna let me go to bed with that on my mind. Thanks, dude. Well, tomorrow's a big day for me. Our replacements get finally make it here, and yeah, so have a little bit more time. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? The way things are changing here every day, but it's just kind of sad because, yeah, it just means my time here in Europe is coming to a close, and it's been really cool, really great experience. I really love it here. If I could stay, I would stay, but I have dogs. I have to go home to them. But I'm here for at least probably another month and a half or so, something like that. We'll see. But it's cool having replacements coming in here. So yeah,
you got to push it to July until I get there.
I can't. I don't think I can. I tried.
I'm gonna take a stab at some pop culture. Is Keanu Reeves coming as part of the replacements?
Oh Jesus, I hate you. No, God. What was his name? What was his name? He's a Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. I'm trying to remember his name, but anyway, that's the. No, it wasn't. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. It was based off the NFL strike, but anyways, no, there was the Marky Mark one where he's a replacement for the Eagles. Invincible. That was Invincible. But yeah, so that's all we got. So next week, do we want to do a recap of Copa Sur, or we could just do an all-encompassing one, something similar to this?
Once we get off here, we should get on a call. Like, and we can plan stuff for next week. I've made some plans for the next 10 days that'll impact that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, hey, everyone, thanks for joining us. Thanks to HER CBD for providing us always amazing support. We need to get Cait some CBD over there. So do you do CBD, Cait?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to send you some stuff over there, so that way, as much training as you're doing, you're probably gonna need some. Yeah, and and then once, well, so thanks to Carl, Dimitri, the Krill crew out there in Vegas. Appreciate everything that they do for us. And
if you came in late, go back and check out the beginning. We had three athletes on. Anestis, Artemis, champion of Athens Throwdown this year, came in from Greece. Syria, Mayha, Albanian female athlete who won in Sarajevo, got second at Athens Throwdown, called in from the UK, and then late addition Augustin Valicnik from Croatia, incredible figure in his community over there. So if you didn't get a chance to hear those, go back and check them out. It was great to talk to all of them.
3 different perspectives, 3 great athletes, 3 great people. You can't help but like smile when Syria's talking. She's so like full of energy. And no, we did not put that on 2 times speed. That's how fast she speaks. And to just imagine.
Dude, I was going to ask her. She speaks so many languages too. She is. Look, I mean, she's just an incredibly talented, very smart, obviously super fit woman. So, but yeah, that's like her mind is constantly like that. So that's just how she is.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was like, just to know that about her, and she had dreams to be an astronaut and was kind of on that path. And instead, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna do CrossFit. I'm gonna do 2 competitions a month, CrossFit competitions a month, and do an online qualifiers. But that's just really cool. But yeah, like Brian says, go back, check those out. I think it's really interesting, really cool. Cait, thanks for coming on for those too. I know this is kind of new to you when it comes to that international scene, but hey, you're going to be in Europe here in July, so now you'll be able to maybe there might be some places you consider.
Yep.
But thanks everyone. Yeah, with all the stuff that's going on in the world today, and online stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of negativity out there. All I apply and would want for you all to do the rest of the week is be friendly, our friends.